Welcome back to the Engineered Angler. It's really the first cool day here in North Florida. It's kind of Florida chilly, right? It's like 65, but it's nice out. I got a little fire going. I wanted to do a product review. I do very few. If you've been watching this, I do very few product reviews, but this one's kind of interesting because I bought another trolling motor and I got away from the GM Ford limitation of purchasing, you know, those two brands we know of, right? Minn Kota and Motorguide, those two major brands. I know there's others, there's store brands and everything, but I got a sneaking suspicion that they're derivatives of those two. But this, not so sure about. This is Newport Vessel. I'm pretty sure it's not made in Connecticut, but it's a saltwater series. It's 12 volt, it's 62 pound thrust, and it was about $100 less than the Minn Kota with 55 pound thrust, freshwater. So I didn't do an unboxing because it was just a motor in a bag, so there really was very little to show. So I took it out of the box, took it to the boat, mounted it. But we can go down, take a look at it at the boat, and we're gonna do a little bit of a thrust test. But first, let me show you the one I took off. So let me give you a little background. I've been living on this lake for about 12 years, actually 12 years this month. And I've had that boat in the water with a trolling motor on it for the entire time. 24/7, the boat's in the water and the motor is in the elements, right? Rain, shine, cold, hot, in the water all the time. So I guess I shouldn't be too upset that they only last a couple of years, but it's a little disconcerting when the motor lasts less than the batteries. But hey, it is what it is. This is a Motorguide 55 pound thrust. I have alternated back and forth from Minn Kota, Motorguide, Minn Kota, and each time I get mad because they break down and I end up buying the other one, but they do the same thing. This one, the controls went bad, and it really isn't worth going through the trouble of replacing the board in here. So this is the prop I pulled off my old one, and you can see, I hope, that it's that shiny plastic, and you can hear that it's that hard, sort of almost glass-like plastic that tends to kind of crack and be a little bit brittle. It isn't that graphite infused stuff, which actually that one came with, so we'll compare them down at the dock. So I'll walk through all the features of that particular motor. I'll show you how quiet it is, and I'll show you a comparison with the propeller it came with. But I'm also going to do a thrust test, and I've got this little crane scale, and we'll attach it to the dock and we'll attach it to the motor and we'll crank it up and see how much we really get out of that little motor. So let's go to the dock. Okay, here it is. Let me go ahead and pull it out of the water. So you can see it's got that classic white paint, right? It's supposed to be saltwater ready. This is a fiberglass shaft. I've brought a little magnet to check the hardware. The fiberglass shaft is a nice little addition. The Motorguide had an aluminum shaft, which is pretty good too. This has a full 48-inch shaft. The Motorguide had a 36-inch shaft. So for me, it's really good because I fish almost exclusively standing up, and I operate this thing standing up. If you need to sit down, you're gonna have to drop this motor way down so the tiller's in reach. This tiller handle extends and retracts, and it is also non-metal. It looks to be like a hard plastic. The case looks like any standard case. The only difference is that it has a battery meter right here. It's got a little bar chart with little LEDs, and it's showing full charge right now. And then checking the mounting hardware with this magnet, it's showing stainless steel. It has almost no contact force with this magnet, so it's halfway decent stainless steel. That's actually better than the Motorguide. It had what looked to be some kind of galvanized steel because this stuck to it, but it wasn't oxidized. Now, comparing propellers, they look to be the same size, the same kind of angle of the blade, the entry side, which is nice because a nice sweeping angle gives you a little less weed wrap. I believe this plastic though is going to be a little more resilient to chipping or breaking. But they're both adequate props. The only thing that I would have preferred would have been one of these quick twist nuts. This one came with a stainless steel washer and a lock nut, which works fine, unless you got to get that prop off while you're out on the water. Here's a nice feature that neither the Minn Kota or the Motorguide comes with at this level, and that's a nice braided guard to protect against chafing. And it also shades that wire a little bit from the sun and keeps it from getting oxidized and starting to crack. And it also came with a breaker, a resettable breaker, 60 amp, which actually Minn Kota nor Motorguide comes with when you buy one, at least none of the ones I've ever bought. That means you end up with an incomplete motor because you can't run it without, or you shouldn't run it without a good breaker. So that means you've got to run out to your local boat place and get yourself a breaker. I really like this tilt mechanism. It's got a lever instead of a button, which the other one did. I would have to kind of get my finger down in there to push that button, which was a little bit uncomfortable, kind of spooky because it felt like you were going to catch your finger. So I usually use the butt end of my fishing rod to push the button. But this one's nice. You can just reach in and tilt it up. The rest of the settings are the same as the others. They're just friction collars that keep the motor from sliding down, and a little friction collar down here, which I have to say has a more refined touch to it, which gives you the friction for the steering so it doesn't just drift off on you. All right, enough chit chat. Let's get the crane scale, and I'll bring this thing around to that side of the dock. I'm going to tie off to that pole over there, and we'll see what kind of thrust this thing can actually develop. I'll learn how to drive. So it has some pretty good speed. So we have 5 forward speeds and 3 reverse. It also has quite a bit of power, even in reverse, to really get you around. And the fact that the reverse has some real authority makes it really a lot easier to bring in and dock. Even at a high speed, I can bring it in and really put the brakes on pretty easily. And bring it right in and able to just tie it off without any real drama. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and clip this connector rope on the boat so that this crane scale stays in the boat. I've got it pretty much aligned. And I'm gonna be careful that the rope doesn't get caught up on anything so I don't lose any of the thrust and friction. So hopefully I can capture this on the GoPro so you can see the thrust. We're at. So that first trial with 34 pounds. Let's give it another shot and see if we can beat that. So after about 3 tries, 34 is the best I could get. Everything else was slightly lower, but I got nothing to compare to. I can't really test it with that old one because it wouldn't be fair. So in conclusion, what I'm finding is that it's quiet. It has decent thrust. It goes a little faster than the other one did when it was brand new, which would be normal, right? The other one was only 55 pounds. The materials on it seem to be good. The next big question is durability and how well sealed it is against moisture getting into the control head or into the motor. Thanks for watching, and I'll keep you updated on this thing as it progresses and hopefully lasts a little longer than my batteries. Catch you on the next video.